in Iraq and Syria. You're still going to have al-Nusra over there in Pakistan. How are we ever going to eradicate this terror threat?
Well, to follow up on what Buck was saying, I agree to some extent. I don't think we want to downplay the recent reports about the types of attacks that have come out over the past few days that groups may be trying to plan. But, Buck, you know as well as I do that in intelligence, there's a range of credibility associated with different types of reports. And you can't just treat a social media or a posting on its own without signals intelligence, without imagery intelligence, without all the types of intelligence that analysts use to assess the credibility of the threat. So while the Australia plot had intercepted communications and there was clear evidence of something actually going on, I don't want to jump the gun on the other plots. We don't see the reports behind the scenes. You can't just overreact to every jihadist posting on an internet forum.
I'm not sure what the overreaction would be if we're trying to prepare for the possibility of jihadists who are saying that they in fact want to hit us. They're setting up special units to do this. They're open about it. And as you know as well as I do, jihadist chatter actually matters. This is a means of communication between different cells.
And I agree, but there's also a difference between chatter and, in some cases, noise that might actually obscure the real and credible threats or the actionable intelligence. And until there's actionable intelligence or specific threats, I'm not downplaying the threat. I'm just saying that
it seems we agree the threat is higher. The threat is higher.
Let me ask you this, because some people have suggested that ISIS is trying to lure us into this war. You know, it only builds their profile and makes them look like this big giant if they can fight the superpower, the United States of America. And many people believe that that's what Osama bin Laden was trying to do with 9/11 as well, and that we took the bait. Do you believe that might be happening here, Buck?
Well, that was proven. That's a theory that many people often hold to, but it was really proven wrong in Iraq by the surge, when you also had the Iraqi awakening. You had Sunni Arabs turn against the precursor organization to the Islamic State, which is al-Qaeda in Iraq, and they were effectively degraded, to borrow a term from President Obama. As we see now, they were not destroyed. But the idea that America can't in any circumstance actually prevail over these groups is, I think, a very pernicious fallacy. And it's really important also to keep in mind that the fighting against terrorism is not the cause of it. These individuals would be fighting us no matter what our policies were, no matter what we did in the Middle East or the rest of the world for that matter. They'll look to historical grievances if they have to.
That's where it is. That's what I want to get to, Tara, because when ISIS was beheading our American journalists, they were sending out messages saying, you know, we wouldn't have done this if you hadn't dropped those bombs in Iraq, Mr. President. But does anybody believe that? I mean, it's just within them. They are raised on a diet of hate for America.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. Obviously, a lot of what they say and a lot of how these groups respond to American policies and American actions are for pure propaganda purposes. So I'm not disagreeing with you there. But to pick up also on Buck's point, I mean, the whole distinction about degrading or destroying, at the end of the day, realistically speaking, you need to degrade the capabilities and the leadership and the aspirations of the group. You might not be able to eliminate them fully, but you need to degrade them to the point where they do not pose an imminent and severe threat. There's always, the Prime Minister of Australia the other day said if someone has an iPhone, the will to kill, I believe he said, and a knife, they can cause havoc with a terrorist attack, as can a teenager with a school shooting. Unfortunately, that is objective reality, and that is the case. Yeah. So whether or not we're going to be able to eliminate every single individual who may or may not have that sort of will to do that type of attack, those are honestly the attacks I'm more worried about. Because
the authorities have been saying for years that the attacks they're most worried about are the lone wolves, the domestic.